All right. Well, so Nancy, thanks for being with us today. Tell me really quickly, what brought you to Ciprani Consulting? Why did you decide to hire us to help you find a hire?
I left real estate and then came back. So I was 10 years out and then I came back and was kind of right before the pandemic or around the pandemic. And so I asked my sister to help me. And so she was doing some things for me, but she's 10 years older than me. So she was close to 70. So there were a lot of things she could not do. So then I finally realized I needed a person. And then I tried to hire somebody myself. It was a disaster. Well, it wasn't a horrible disaster, but there was a bit of a disaster. Sorry about that. And she left. That person left. They weren't committed, and I thought I could only do a part-time employee, so it was just a mismatch. So I've been circling around Ciprani for a while, and I talked to your husband a couple of times and kept saying, "Oh, should I do this? Should I do this?" And Keller Williams was saying I wasn't ready, and Brian Buffini was saying, "Now's the time to do this." So I decided to listen to Brian. And I went ahead and contacted you for real and started that process then. So I spent so much time on my sister and this other person, and I realized that it was wasting my time, and I didn't know how to find the right match.
I love that. And so you called us so that we could help you find the right match. Tell me, you had talked about a little bit about how you thought maybe it should be a part-time person instead of full-time. So what changed your mind there out of curiosity?
I felt like I was busy enough and there was enough to do that it would be smart to do full-time, but I felt like I wouldn't find the right employee unless I did full-time.
Got it. Which is, we always say that that's a truth because, most really good, talented people are working full time. That's just the truth. Although you can find some part time. So when you saw Sarah and you listened to her talk, what was different? Help our viewers understand, you saw talent in front of you. What jumped out?
That was really cool. I mean, I loved that she was interviewing me and really trying to figure out who I am and what my personality was like and what I was really looking for. I have to say I was kind of a doubting Debbie in that I was like, there's no way they're going to find this person, like this magical person. But they did. So, they did all the interviewing and all of that. And the really cool part was starting to see all the videos come back and being clear right up front, right at the beginning of each video. This isn't it, but I'll watch the whole person, I'll watch the whole video of this person. And then I would have my husband watch it. And so it was very different when I saw Sarah's video. She was poised and she was super smart and she answered the questions. She was really thinking. Like some of the other candidates were like just trying to rush and get an answer out. And some of them were really quite young, inexperienced. So there were many things that happened with Sarah, but I knew the second I saw her that I liked her. So stupid, but I've done a lot of auditioning of people, and you've been in that situation
same.
too. And when someone walks into an audition room and you're going to cast them in a movie and they walk in and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's the person. But she hasn't even said anything yet and I can tell. So that happened with Sarah for me.
So we had similarities. I love it. Well, and so Sarah, how did you feel about our process? Because it's a lengthy process and there's a lot to it. And we put you through a lot of interviews, but you can see that we really do feel strongly that we have to find the right match for somebody like Nancy. And we think that interviews help us do that. But how did you feel about the process?
I was very surprised. I come from the nonprofit world and the theater world and a lot of more like, you kind of just take what you can in the interview process like this, which made me feel like they were Nancy and obviously Ciprani was dating for little me, but great, so thorough.
I love that. And so it didn't scare you away, which actually is something that we are starting to put together and kind of document too in our process. Is the people that aren't scared away, the people that enjoy the process and say something like you just said, like that meant that they really cared about who they were placing with Nancy and that they really cared about Nancy and finding the right person. People that think that way, we've seen them come in and just be rock stars. And so if I had to take you back to when you heard that there was, 3 to 4 different interviews and we asked for references and we talked to other people on there, like none of that really scared you away, huh? It actually was like, oh, they care.
Yeah, I didn't feel scared. I maybe felt a little like, not quite out of my league. Just I hadn't been through that experience before, and so there's a little bit of like imposter syndrome of like, am I? They really want to speak to me 8 times, like So that's. But I think anybody who's been in a different industry might have already had this experience. Luckily, I have friends in like science and education, and there's so many interviews that go along with that. So I was in good company with people who were assuring me that this is relatively normal, maybe just not quite in nonprofit world. Anyway, so that, and then I think the only thing that was interesting was how many references. I had never had anyone ask for personal references and then for asked references of my references. And so that was very sweet to kind of find my own like circle of peers who would be so willing to speak to my strengths, my attributes, and, the things that any person you're working closely with should know.
Yeah, I love that. And we always ask too, are there any opportunities for growth, right? And we don't love to call those weaknesses, but we look at that and we always know that all of us have things that maybe could be seen as a weakness or an opportunity for growth. And to be able to talk to people that know you really well and that are honest about that, and then be able to give that to Nancy so that she knows and that you guys can come together and be the best team possible is really key for us. And so that's awesome. Well, tell me, when you met Nancy, what did you think? Were you like, this is my boss immediately, or did it take going through the process to feel that way?
The only thing that bothered me was that we talked for 2 hours at our first meeting, and I was like, we still have more interviews? Like, I was like, I didn't get it. Like, that's it. It's like, so that, I felt like it was such a good match straight away. I was just like, I couldn't believe that there were more interviews, which is great. I don't know your process. So it was very cool to know that even though we thought we were, and then meeting Michael, our other team member, was so great. That just helped to further solidify like my place mix of our strengths, and that we could kind of fill in for each other's areas of growth.
I love that. Awesome. Well, so then you guys also rolled into our consulting program with Ryan. And so tell me about that. I would love just a brief little description of how you guys feel like that's been going.
I think it's great. Ryan's awesome. He not only has all of this incredible systematized knowledge, he's also just a kind person that he's very willing in our consulting sessions to, I know we have a timeline and we have a curriculum, but he's also so willing to meet us with the questions we have that day, which I think is the true mark of a great teacher, is to really be there with the student, which is both of us.
I love that. And so, creating systems and processes, I would imagine it was a little bit easier, not starting from scratch, but having kind of some of those things to actually build into and build off of, right?
I feel, as a real estate agent that has been pretty busy in the last few months, so much more relaxed and confident. I feel like somebody's got my back. We've figured out phone system. Like, we've done so much where if I went away, I could actually go away, although that didn't really work this first time because it was all new. But now we're going away again. And I know that Sarah's got my back, and that feels, it's, sacred it's so hard to be a realtor. It's 24/7, 7 days a week. And so it's just like nonstop, and you burn out. And I did burn out and then came back. So I will not be burning out again because Sarah is here and doing such a ridiculously great job.